What is happening, Bairns? Welcome to In the KM, One South Standard's point of view on all things navy blue. As always, I am your host Ray. Today's video, we are here to react, break down and discuss Falkirk's recent 1-0 loss away at Raith Rovers at Starks Park. First off, just some channel stuff. If you could possibly like, subscribe and also share the video with any other Bairns that are maybe not aware of the channel, it would be greatly appreciated. The goal is to hopefully one day get to 1876 subscribers. Long way to go yet, but that's the goal. So any way you can support with that would be greatly appreciated. Other things I just want to talk about before we get into discussing the match itself. Unfortunately, with the loss yesterday, that does mean that the 43 game unbeaten streak is now over. What a run it's been, truly. All credit to the players and the management, all the coaching staff, all the fans, everybody that's travelled up and down the country following the team. It's been absolutely unforgettable, genuinely has. But we're talking about like core memories for a lot of youngsters, and certainly with my young journey following the team as well. Absolute core memories, something I'm never ever going to forget, and possibly something we might never see recreated as well. It's a shame to see it end. It is, but we've got to be realistic. We know these things are never going to last forever. In fact, I seen a really good quote yesterday that said, no king reigns forever as well. So it's pretty fitting. Over that 43 games, we've seen so many times where we rescued draws from defeats and we rescued wins from draws. But unfortunately, it's just one time too many where our luck maybe just ran out a wee bit. The new run, however, starts now on Saturday when we play Ayr United. That's when the new run starts. So just before, again, I get into the guts of this video, I would be remiss in not talking about what an achievement it's been. Those 43 games, the players, they got applauded by the fans who stayed behind after the match, and rightfully so, because what an achievement it was. Not that was ever in any doubt. There was no doubt everybody was going to stay behind and applaud them, just like we did at Celtic Park the week before. The players know that they're loved, and that's really encouraging as well going forward, and like I say, starting a new run as well. So other things I want to talk about as well before we get into things in proper. One thing as well was about my mindset in particular. So few comments that I'd made on social media pretty much in the immediate aftermath of the game yesterday, when I was still a bit scunnered about the result and that. There was one specific poster on Pie and Bovril, sorry I can't remember your name exactly, who it was, I'm sure you'll point it out, but it said that the comment was something to the effect of that you no longer support the I think it was, what was it, the blue arse cheek Eastmain and Rangers, but that I no longer follow that team anymore, so that hysteria of losing a game isn't appropriate with Falkirk compared to what it is with them. And he's absolutely spot on in saying that. He's absolutely right in that sense. There is a massive culture difference between supporters of Falkirk versus supporters of just the Old Firm in general, where a draw is a disaster and a loss, people start talking about sack managers. It's unthinkable to lose a game of football. So something I wanted to just talk about as well is that I'm still adjusting to this a wee bit, and in my defence as well, I've not tasted a lot of defeat over the last year, so it's easy to fall into this trap of thinking that maybe we just don't lose games. But this is the thing, I knew what this was when I signed up. I knew that following a team that wins 95% of the time to a team where, let's be honest, now that we're back in the Championship, defeat lurks around every corner at this point. We could lose any given game now. Maybe when we got into the swing of things last season, we had better players than everybody else in the league, and as folk like Ross Wayne would say, that the only people that can beat us is ourselves. We are playing against teams that are equally as good on any given day, and we could lose any game. This is what I wanted though. And that's the thing I've got to remind myself when I get frustrated when we do inevitably lose a game, is that the wins mean more when you know that they're no guaranteed. And this is what I wanted. And one thing I want to try and do a little bit better is maybe no allow that frustration to boil over into saying stupid things like saying how it was abysmal and stuff like that. It wasn't. And that's something else I wanted to talk about as well. Is there's some people I speak to right in the aftermath of games when maybe we got beat off of Steny and Bonnyrigg Rose and things last season. There really isn't that hysteria. And that's something that really does impress me, is that people are able to be so level headed and just take a step back and be objective and look at the bigger picture almost immediately. Whereas with me, it probably takes me maybe thinking about it the rest of the night, and then when I gather my thoughts and do the video the very next day, that's when I reach that point. So to those of you that don't have knee-jerk reactions and are able to be really objective and have a clear mind about these things, fair play to you. By the way, I'm still trying, but hopefully I'll get there. Hopefully I will. Okay, so on to the match itself. We went into this game and we made, I think, 2 changes. Graham came in to replace Cole, who was carrying a knock, and McKenna replaced McKeever up top. There had been some speculation before the game that we were maybe going to see Shanley, or the most popular option was Alfredo Aguiman starting up top. When I seen the lineup, I wondered if maybe it was going to be McKenna in the 10 role and then Aguiman up top, but that's not what ended up transpiring. It was McKenna up top, which I think a lot of us maybe raised our eyebrows on a wee bit. I wasn't really expecting that, to be honest. Don't really think it worked all that well. I don't see that being an experiment that we try again, to be honest. I'm not convinced. I don't think McKenna's got the legs for the job that entails, to be perfectly honest. In terms of the game itself, in terms of how we started, I thought we started the game really sluggishly. I thought it was quite slow and a bit pedestrian. Lots of stray passes as well. We were quite slow in the build-up also. We kept delving into this thing where we would just pass the ball about the back. I mean, I lost count of the amount of times that Graham passed the ball to Hendo, who then passed it to Spencer, who then passed it back to Graham. And when you see teams resorting to this, it's usually indicative of the other team strangling all of the space in midfield, and that there's just no space in which to operate. So whilst on the one hand you could criticise that we were being pedestrian and that we weren't creating a lot, Raith Rovers were being very disciplined and were restricting the space. In fact, they were content for us to just knock the ball about the back. They had no intention of coming out and trying to nick the ball off us in our own defensive third, other than when they get the penalty, that is. But yeah, we kept knocking it about, trying to entice Raith out, and as I say, it didn't work. We struggled to adapt to Raith Rovers' approach early doors. It's almost as if we had set up in the hope that they were going to attack us and go gung-ho because they were desperate for a win. But again, credit to Raith Rovers for being very patient, to be honest. They didn't rush out of the traps the way that probably a lot of us expected that they would. So we resorted to long balls out wide, which did give us a wee bit of success. Alfredo Aguiman got on the ball a few times, but he wasn't getting any change out of Lewis Stevenson, who has absolutely no pace at this point in his career, but we still struggled to get by him. We looked quite hesitant in front of goal whenever we did get in the final third, which is a wee bit of a disappointment as well, to be fair. Their goal, as I already mentioned a wee bit earlier there, it's unfortunately it's really avoidable. It's really daft how it comes about. It's a really poor pass by Tate. He's facing towards his own defence and he just doesn't put enough on the pass, and it gets nicked off, and the Raith player rushes through on goal. Then got a bit of a rash challenge by Hendo, to be perfectly fair. It's a clear penalty. The referee's got that correct. Not that he fucking got very many things right yesterday, but I'll give him his due. That's one thing that he got right. So that's dispatched for 1-0, and Nicky's so close to saving it. Gutted for the big boy. He's so close to saving it, but nah. In terms of in an attacking sense, I don't think Raith Rovers really offered very much at all in the first half. They were content to hold on to the 1-0, and we just lacked a cutting edge up top. We are really, really missing Ross McKeever. It's undeniable how much that we miss him when he's not in the team. It's strange too, because it's no like he scores loads of goals. He's no prolific, but what he gives us is an out ball. We can lump the ball up to him, and it's no like we're not talking Route One football where it's just old school lumping it up to a big lanky Drake that just wins headers all the time. He's intelligent with his hold up play, brings others into the game as well. We just do not have somebody like for like that can do the kind of role that he can do. And anybody that if there's, I don't know how, but if there's anybody that doubts what Ross McKeever brings to this team, then you've just got to see when he's no playing, we lack a full dimension to our play when he isn't there, and that's probably the thing I'm most worried about. More worried than Cole missing out, or Morrison missing out, or Nesbitt still missing out, or Lang, is that we just don't have anybody on his level that can come in and do a job like what he does. It's really unfortunate, and I know that when you think about guys like George Oakley that were out of contract in the summer, oh man, he wouldn't. I don't think he would have came to us, to be fair, because he would have been possibly sitting on the bench half the time. But see if we'd had somebody like him that we could rely on to bring off a bench, a more like for like replacement. But we don't. So anyway, tangent aside, we get to half time, and my overriding thought is just really, really frustrated with how the first half went. Just no creating enough, too slow, too ponderous, no hitting any shots. Frustrating. Aye. Second half, we grow into the game a lot more. It's a lot better. We create a couple of really good chances from crosses. Tate in particular really should score. It's an unmarked header. And I love Dylan Tate. He's ken that how much I go on about the boy. I think he's fantastic, but you've got to be fair and say it's a sitter. Unfortunately, it's a sitter. And the interesting thing with Tate as well, I don't think he had a particularly great game yesterday, but the thing with Tate as well is that whenever he does have a somewhat iffy game, he's always amazing in his next game. So I would expect him to be doing bits against Ayr. Looking forward to seeing that, actually. So where are we here? In terms of making changes to the game as well, McGlynn eventually does go to the bench, and he brings on Miller, Nesbitt and Shanley for attacking subs. But I do think he brings them on a wee bit too late. I think that we could have maybe been doing with these subs about the hour mark, and he brings them on, correct me if I'm wrong, about 15 minutes to go. I think that's just a wee bit too late. We could have been doing with bringing these folk on a bit earlier, but I do appreciate that with Miller and Shanley, you're not wanting with Miller and Nesbitt in particular, you're not wanting to risk any further injury. So I get that cautiousness to a point anyway. Something else I wanted to just talk about as well is that throughout the game, and as time starts to ebb away a wee bit, Raith Rovers start employing, shall we say, gamesmanship. You know, the old play acting, the diving, the rolling about, the taking forever with free kicks and goal kicks and everything as well, and just trying everything they can to wind the clock down. As I say, it gets worse as the game goes on. It's disappointing to see, but if the roles were reversed and it was us that were desperately needing to kickstart our season with a win, we would do absolutely anything we could to get it, and we would applaud the players for doing it. It's a Syrian, and it does wind you up, but I get why they do it. Lots of really, really poor challenges by Raith Rovers players throughout this match as well. How they escaped with as few yellow cards as they did is absolutely fucking beyond me. There was at least 2 or 3 instances where the ref plays advantage and then just doesn't go back and book the guy. And we're talking stonewall yellow cards every time. This is a kind of inconsistent shite with referees that really, really pisses you off. Just that like we do something and it's instantly a yellow card, and then another team does something and they get away with it, and it's no that we're arguing that Spencer shouldn't have been booked or Mackey shouldn't have been booked. No, they're bookings all day long, but there's about two or three guys on the other team that haven't been booked, and they absolutely should have. I thought that the ref had an absolute horror show. He was pretty poor, and that's not saying much, is it? Because the referees at this level are horrific anyway. I mean, Rangers and Celtic fans complain about how bad the best referees in this country are. Honestly, try dealing with some of the horror shows that we are subjected to on a weekly basis. It's fucking night and day. So, aye, eventually we get to the end of the match, and according to the stats, we didn't get a shot on target, but I'm not too sure about that because there's a stramash. There's a nice broad Scottish word for you, stramash. In the 90th minute or so, where the ball's lumped into the box to the far post, and there's a bit of a scramble, and it looks like the keeper makes a save there, but the stats don't say it's a shot on target, so I don't know. We'll go with what the stats say, but yeah, if that's the case, then unfortunately we didn't manage to register a shot on target, which is quite disappointing because you're not going to win a game if you can't even test the keeper. That's probably the thing that I'm most disappointed about with the game. Not even losing, is that I think that we could have done a lot better, and I think that the players will feel the exact same way. I don't think we done ourselves justice yesterday. We are better than that, but some other things that you've got to bear in mind is that we're missing a lot of firepower for this team. You've got the top goal scorer for last season, no playing. You've got the top assister for last season on the bench, who does come on and creates a couple of good chances, and then you've also got our best attacking midfielder in terms of goals and assists, and Nesbitt as well, who didn't start either. So that, and then Ross McKeever as well. That's our preferred front four, all not playing from the start. And there does come a point where, and look, I know some people are trying to say, oh, you're just making excuses, but talking about injuries and that. Look, we've got to be grown ups here. Let's put our big boy pants on here, and be honest. If you take any team and you take 4 or 5 of their best players out of the team, you can't honestly sit there and say that they're not going to be affected by it. And look, I'm not making excuses, it's fact. You can't lose all your best players and expect to still operate on the same way. Maybe a Man City can do that when they've got unlimited money and they can have guys sitting on the bench earning 90 grand a week. But we don't have that luxury. I mean, we don't even have a like-for-like striker to replace McKeever. So, aye, that disappointing end to the unbeaten run in terms of my overall thoughts. As I've said at the start of the video there as well, there was so many times where we would rescue draws from defeats. I mean, there's 3 instances that I can think of. There was one earlier in the season, last season, where Jordan Allen was at Cove Rangers. It was like 96th minute to rescue a draw in that game. You had Edinburgh City with a 93rd, 94th minute penalty from Calvin Miller. You then had the late show against Alloa when we came back for 2-0 down on Trophy Day. So, over the course of this run, we came close to losing on a few occasions, and we had Lady Luck on our side. And just, unfortunately, it's just one too many. And I think that's possibly the difference, and maybe something that the players might realise is that last season, I think we could still get away with playing quite poorly and still nick results because we were a lot better than the teams around us in terms of the personnel. But at this level, it's a lot more even. If you play poorly, you're probably going to lose, and that's something that once we adapt to that, I think we'll be fine. Like, I know that this video has probably had a bit of a negative tinge to it, but genuinely, I'm no worried about losing the game. I'm not, because the players have shown how mentally strong they are. They'll bounce back for this just fine. I'm more worried about the injuries, to be perfectly honest, and the news that McKeever might be out for around 8 weeks. That's a hammer blow, because as I've mentioned umpteen times throughout this video, that we don't have a like-for-like replacement, and the loan market shuts tomorrow. bear in mind we can still sign somebody from another Scottish club on loan throughout tomorrow, but then we're stuck with what we've got. The concern is that the interview that John McGlynn had with the Falkirk Herald in the aftermath of the game yesterday, he seemed to hint at the fact that we're probably going to be going with what we've got, which is disappointing. And I know that the people have contacted Jamie Swinney and asked about, are the funds there to get somebody in, and he has actually confirmed on Twitter, no, I'm not calling it X. I will never ever call it X. It's fucking Twitter. Somebody contacted Swinney who had said that the funds are there. It's no a question of the money. It's a question of, is the quality there, and I get that. We're not just going to bring somebody in for the sake of it if he's not going to be somebody that's of the required level, and it's going to be really, really tough to find that. Hopefully we can do something late on, because it's a concern if we are going to be without McKeever for the next 8 weeks. So, yeah, that's really all I've got to say in terms of the game yesterday and how I'm feeling. As I've said, I think we will bounce back. I think we'll be fine in the long run. Just got to maybe shuffle the deck a wee bit and think of something different, because the exact same system without the focal point of that system with McKeever, it's a bit disjointed. I don't really think it's working without him. So hopefully we can work on something else if he's going to be out for that 8 weeks. So, that's all I've got to say on that. Thank you so much, everybody that's got to this point of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share with other bairns. That would be really, really appreciated. And I'll catch you in the next video on the bairns.